hurts my stomach.
We need to add some food to this.
We should start having little hors d'oeuvres.
Some snacks.
Yeah. All right, we're rolling here.
We're live.
All right.
It's on, baby.
Hey, friends and neighbors. It's Dan Cavallari, Slow Guy on the Fast Ride, here with my co-host, Mark Still. Mark, how's it going?
Doing well, Dan. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for coming down to the world headquarters, a.k.a. my garage.
It's a fine place to be.
It is. It is a little chilly, but we're suffering through it.
I will make it.
Okay. I'm glad one of us will. Somebody has to survive.
Somebody's got to survive. One of us has got to walk out of this place at some point.
That's right. Well, let's jump right into the week's news here on The Weekly, and we'll start with what we've been up to at Slow Guy on the Fast Ride this week, if you missed it. First of all, did a pretty interesting podcast with Preska Sportswear's CEO, and the reason that happened was because I had done an episode of the Rouleur Tech podcast. I'm also the host of that. And it was all about sustainability. Preska said, we've got some interesting things going on. And sure enough, they do. That was not mentioned on the Rouleur Tech podcast. So I would encourage you to give that episode a listen. They've got a really neat sustainability program baked right into their business plan, which includes chamois replacement on your bibs. Yeah.
Chamois replacement.
Yes, it's very cool. Very cool. So go give that a listen. That just dropped on Thursday. You can catch that. I'll put the link down there so you can see that. Also this week, posted a very interesting video. I went up to Portland back in the fall to visit Autolock headquarters and their facility for manufacturing locks. And their founder, Jake van der Zanden, gave a pretty interesting overview of the different types of forces it takes to actually cut through a bike lock. It turns out there's compression and there's shear, both very different and in how you can cut through a bike lock. And Autolock considers both when they create their locks. It's a very interesting video worth watching if you want to learn a little bit about the science behind cutting bike locks.
Not the science behind talking on camera.
No. That's a whole different thing. And finally, if you would be so kind as to go to our YouTube channel, which you are on right now, and give a thumbs up to the Let Me See That video for the Chapter 2 TOA. We're about halfway there. If we get 100, I get to do a very fully independent review of that bike. So help me out there. Give us a thumbs up.
It's a very cool bike.
It is very cool. So I'd very much like to do a review of it. So help us out.
And if you don't care about bikes, it was a very pretty place we recorded the video.
That's also true, yes. So that's what's been happening at Slow Guy on the Fast Ride this week. Let's find out what's been going on in the grander world of cycling outside of my garage. The biggest news, of course, and we'll also touch on why there's a set of manky boots here.
What kind of boots?
Manky.
Manky.
They're not that manky, though. They're actually kind of nice boots.
They may be manky. I have no idea what manky means. It does not sound good.
It's probably not good. Anyway, we will cover that later in the show, but I'm going to let you, because I don't even know, actually. This is Mark's. I have no idea why these boots are here, but he assures me it is relevant.
Dan doesn't know, and we're live.
Yes.
That is a recipe right there.
Yes, I'm ready for the disaster. But the biggest news story of the week, of course, was Egan Bernal's crash on a training ride in Colombia. He was on a TT bike and had his head down. There was a bus up the road, had stopped to drop off a passenger, and Bernal was not aware of it. Crashed right into the back of the truck. Almost ended his life. Certainly still possibly ended his career. We don't know. He's in the hospital. Just provided an Instagram post about an hour ago, saying that he was given a thumbs up. He's got a lot more surgeries to go. The very next day, his teammate Brandon Rivera also crashed. Ended up in the same hospital as Egan Bernal with some pretty serious injuries. So, we talked about this last week with a lot of crashes happening on training rides. I think there's a new element to that with TT bikes, of course. I mean, TT bikes are notoriously difficult to handle in the best of times, and if you're in this position where by nature you're looking down, and so Tom Pidcock, one of Bernal's teammates, came out and said the TT bike training is just dangerous. And something's got to change.
Is it the bike, though, or is it the position they put themselves in on the bike?
Well, I mean, I think those two are closely related.
And is it the computers and everything else they're staring at?
Well, I think it is sort of a grand collision, and sorry for the term, but like of things that are making training more dangerous, and that's the bike, it's the speed, it's the positioning.
Distracted riding.
It's distracted riding, but it's also drivers and congestion on the roads. We forget sometimes that roads are public spaces. They're not made just for cars. And
even for Grand Tour champions.
Exactly. And there's no other sport really, maybe running, where professional athletes train in such a public place. So they're at risk of the same things that you and I are at risk of when we ride. So, to me, the TT bike in general is pretty hard to ride and control. These are the best of the best, the pros doing this, but it's a difficult position to be in when you need to be aware of cars. That's different on a closed course.
I don't know I don't know, I wasn't there, we haven't seen this level of detail, but for the extent of the injuries, he must have hit it going full speed.
Yeah.
I don't think the handling of the bike had anything to do with it.
No, it was just because he had his head down.
Yeah, I mean, if he had looked up and he swerved a bit, maybe he could have gotten around, but he just hit the back of it going full gas, and I just, you're like this.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe there's going to be new protocols coming out of this for teams, how they handle TT training, certainly. I mean, nobody wants to lose their big star like this, and frankly, none of us want to see anybody get hurt.
On a personal level, it's no fun.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so, bottom line, we wish all the best to Egan Bernal. We hope he makes a full recovery. It's not going to be this season, and so that changes the race season for sure. We'll talk about that later, but for now, best wishes to Egan Bernal. We hope he recovers. In that same vein, Irish national champion Imogen Cotter was also hit by a car out on a training ride. She was hit head-on when a car pulled out of traffic to pass another bicyclist coming in the opposite direction. Details are still kind of light on that one. It was an Instagram post that I saw. She has some pretty serious injuries, but is okay, is going to recover. Again, wish you the best, but boy, be careful. Be careful. It is such a dangerous time right now to be on the road, so just be careful.
And sometimes we can't be careful enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Cars crossing center lines is tough to deal with.
It is, and I think that more than anything, it's really, these are all reminders that we need to all be more involved in, changes to laws, changes to infrastructure. We need to press for this. It is literally life and death for us. So if this isn't, a good motivator, I don't know what is.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, enough about crashes. Let's talk about other things that happened in the bike world this week. Probably most notably is Specialized just announced that as of February 1st, they will be selling direct to consumer, which is not at all a surprise to me given Canyon has had so much success with it. And this is sort of, I think, the future of bike sales. Much to the chagrin, I think, of some local bike shops and dealers. This is a complicated one. And I think one of the things we need to remember about the bike shops and the manufacturers, bikes are a business. And so, of course, Specialized is going to make the move that makes the most business sense for them. Does this cut out and endanger local bike shops? It's entirely possible, but I think the good shops will figure out a way to adapt and survive. And honestly, this benefits the consumer in both ways, because this forces local bike shops to offer the consumers more reason to come in. And of course, if you want to take advantage of the direct-to-consumer model, you can do that. But I also think it does a little bit of a disservice to the end consumer, because if a box shows up at your door and you're not well-versed in how to build a bike, boy, do you have a rude awakening coming your way. Modern bikes are a lot more difficult to build than they were years ago. Internal routing, oh boy, some people are really about to learn the hard way.
And remember too that Specialized has been selling parts and accessories consumer direct for 2 or 3 years now. So this move was related to non-electric bicycles. And I'm sure they will adopt the packaging model that Canyon has as well. So it's not going to be the same box we're used to seeing show up at bike shops, but you are right. These are complicated machines.
And they've already said that there's different levels, there's different tiers to the service, and one of them is that it shows up in a box where it's like 90% built, and all you have to do is adjust the handlebars and make sure everything is torqued properly.
And nothing ever went wrong doing that.
Right, exactly. And so I think there is still a very big opportunity here for bike shops to capitalize on that very thing. Somebody orders a bike, says, oh, I'm just going to cut out the middleman and get it straight to my house, and then they get lost in it. Well, guess what? The bike shop is there to save you. There's opportunities like that. It's not a business model for a bike shop, but the bike shops do have to adapt. And that has less to do with Specialized than it does with the entire landscape of retail.
Retail, exactly. I was going to say it's retail, and retailers have been. I don't like this sound negative, but they've had challenges ever since the dawn of retail, and they're one of the more adaptable forms of business. So I hope that does spark some change and we see some adaptation. And look, if they're wrong, there's a great dealer base there waiting to rescue things.
Absolutely, and I think there is a thirst. Just as a last note on this, that I think there is a thirst for a return to brick and mortar. I think people miss the idea of customer service, the idea of having to order something and then wait days and days and days to get it, where I can just walk into the shop. That still exists. There are still ways to make bike shops very viable. But I think this is going to definitely be an endangering action for a lot of bike shops.
It depends on the bike shop, the business. And I prefer to call them retail businesses. The fact that they sell bikes is an interesting piece of it, but it depends. There's always opportunity. There's always threats. We'll see how this plays out. And what happens with they're the first of the majors to do that. So what happens next?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine all the big players have plans for something like this. I just can't imagine that anybody hasn't already gotten something on paper to do this. So we'll see what happens. I think, like I said, my hope is that brick and mortar comes out better, but I think it's an adapt or die situation. Moving on.
Dire.
I know. Well, it's a cutthroat world, this cycling world, you know?
Can you lighten it up with your next story?
No, man, you will be disappointed. I spotted this story thanks to a tweet from Rouleur magazine, basically expressing support for a Cycling Weekly writer, Michelle Arthurs-Brennan, who is somebody I have ridden bikes with. She's very whip smart, knows the industry, knows bikes. She wrote a piece on her personal blog. I'm looking over here at another screen, just so you know. And her blog is riderightrepeat.com. Online harassment, misogyny, and why none of us can ignore it. Now, listen, we know that women in general tend to be the targets of trolls online more than men. Michelle's story is pretty disgusting. Some of the things that she faced just for doing her job, just for doing a bike review and being on a video. And these men were, attacking her personally. They doxed her. They made lewd comments, and really that's a reaction to having no argument of substance. So it's just personal attacks. And my thinking on this is, Michelle is the latest in a long line of very brave women who have come forward with these stories, knowing what they're getting into and knowing what the backlash will be. Where are the men supporting them, and where are the men saying, we got to stop this? And where are the men saying to other men, this is not okay. This is not manly. This is not masculine. This is not human. Stop.
Well, here's two.
Exactly.
We'll say it. It's nonsense and bullshit.
Yep.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Well, it is. It's bullshit.
Yes, it is. And frankly, I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of women having to write stories like this. And I don't think there's enough men personally in the industry, not just corporations, not just manufacturers, not just media titles putting out a statement saying we support so and so. Real men putting real skin in the game. Saying knock this off, stop this, and stop it when it's happening. We've all seen it happening in person. Have we been ballsy enough to stop it in person?
Not all the time.
No, not all the time.
We got to be.
It's time to nut up, basically. So to Michelle, from Slow Guy, we support you personally. Me right here and Mark right here, we support you, and I will personally make a commitment to do better, to step up when I see this stuff happening. If I see it happening, this has got to stop.
When you see it happen.
When I see it happening.
This is true. It happens.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And it's scary. It is a scary thing to do. It's going to take some courage, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but I think we need to do it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not just the person it's directed at. It's their family, their children, their extended family.
Correct.
People in their neighborhood that could be inadvertently caught up in things. So
right.
it's a serious public health issue,
right?
Beyond just being a human issue.
It's not just social media. I mean, this is real. There's real repercussions.
But social media accelerates and magnifies, and,
right.
and gives everybody the opportunity to be tremendously stupid.
I would really encourage you to go to riderightrepeat.com, read the piece that Michelle wrote. be better. That's really the best thing we can say is be better, and that includes us. It includes all of us. This is a male-dominated industry. It is incumbent upon us to make the change. Moving on, these boots. What are they doing here? Now, my next topic that I wanted to talk about this week was the Fayetteville Cyclocross Worlds.
And the boots have to do with it.
And the boots have to do that. That's all I know about the boots. I'm a little nervous right now about how the boots play into this. Please share.
Those boots are my boots. I purchased those boots just before the last time Cyclocross Worlds was held in the United States. The first time it was ever held outside of Europe.
Right.
That was in Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm from an area of the country that doesn't get particularly cold. And it was slated to be quite cold. And so I had to have some boots to go to this very cold event. And I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And so I bought those boots at Walmart.
How about that?
How about that?
Yeah.
And this year, Cyclocross Worlds is in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yes.
And it was meant to be in Bentonville, but they just couldn't find, interesting story too, the person that was largely responsible for bringing that here, who walked away from that event, kind of like we're just talking about, in the face of some horrendous legislation in Arkansas, discriminatory legislation. He says he still believes in that, but he kind of got hung out all by himself. But it ended up about 25 miles south of, or north of, somewhere near 25 miles near Bentonville and Fayetteville. And I was thinking about Worlds and joking in my head, Walmart Worlds. Turns out they're actually a sponsor. It is Walmart Worlds. That's the connection. I was there. Were you there in 2013?
Yeah.
It got incredibly cold. The floodwaters brought that river up next to Eva Bamman Park. They compressed the event into one day instead of two. And as I was thinking about that and looking at some of the history, I did not realize that Wout van Aert was there. He got the bronze medal.
I do recall that.
So was my favorite super sharp cyclist, Matthew van der Poel. He won the juniors or under 20. He won juniors. He won juniors, I think, or under 23.
I think he won U23.
Can't remember.
Well, we can look it up.
And the greatest cyclist to ever pedal a bike.
Me.
No,
Oh, no.
not me either. And not Eddie Merckx, in my humble opinion. Marianne Vos, she won the women's race.
Yeah.
And I will tell you something, that it was incredible to watch every other country and then see the Belgians and the riders from the Netherlands go by, because everything was frozen. It had been wet and muddy, so when it froze in all these horrible little ruts. Everybody else would, and then Sven would come by like this. His bike under him, going nuts. Incredible thing to see. But that is the connection, because what is that, 9 years later? I still wear these boots all the time when I take my dog out when it's snowing.
They look pretty well cared for, I gotta say.
They look manky, is what you said earlier.
All right, well, I was being a little dramatic, because there are boots on my desk right now.
And I didn't tell you why. But that's why.
Yeah.
It's kind of full circle. And that's exciting, because this is going to be a crazy race. Neither Wout nor Matthew are here. Partly injury, partly because I think they're responsible for the last 7 world championships in cyclocross. So at some point, why bother coming someplace so far away? But that gives Tom Pidcock a great opportunity. Some of the regulars, Eli I can't say his last name, he's picked up a few wins lately. He's a super strong rider. He's a little guy.
We'll get you right.
And this course is not slated to be super muddy like it was in the test event a few months ago. It's going to be a road biker's course, and that suits him, suits Pidcock for sure. And I tell you what, another super fun thing, Zoe Backstead is the daughter of Magnus Backstead, former winner of Paris-Roubaix. Her mother's a former pro cyclist. She was winning everything until she got COVID. She missed her national championships for Great Britain, but she is heading this way. That junior women's race is going to be super fun.
She's going to be a powerhouse for sure. And of course, I'm sure a lot of you have opinions about the Worlds being in Arkansas, period. We do too. We don't have time for it today. We will talk about that more, but generally speaking, we believe in everybody fighting the good fight to make change there. We are just as appalled as you are about the laws that were passed and all of the controversy. I am heartened by the fact that there are boots on the ground there of people who are doing good work and trying to make those changes. Whatever your opinion is, support those who are doing the good work, whether they're there or not.
And it is there, and it is happening, and there are good people on the ground. There's going to be a great race.
Yep.
It's a time that folks can tell those stories,
Yep.
make the case, and I hope that happens.
Yep.
And one last piece, our hopes for a medal in the elite rest with Clara Hunsinger.
Yeah.
She's been on good form. She's been up there this year. There's a chance. It is the kind of course, and she's had the luxury of not having to travel across the world. She's probably been on the course more than anybody, so I'm excited for that chance. We have no chance in the men's race.
No, but Clara is just a phenomenal talent and so fun to watch race. So just tune in.
Can I do one last little thing about that?
Yes.
I saw an article. I should have noted it for you. The U.S. professional women have far outpaced the U.S. men
by a long shot.
By kind of not quite the magnitude that the U.S. women's soccer has for the last decade or two.
Right.
That's impressive and needs more attention and support.
Mm-hmm.
They are getting the results. I know the men try, but at some point it's a matter of who gets the results, and they're getting the results. They don't get the support that they should.
Yep, absolutely right. And I think, we mentioned it just earlier, Mariana Voss, hands down the best cyclist in the world. I know
she has 7 cyclocross world championships.
There just is no one better. And so I think, we do need to shine a light on women's cycling as much as humanly possible to get a better perspective on cycling in general. I've been waiting for this moment in the show.
We did. We talked about the boots.
No. Oh. That even better than that, because I get to make fun of you a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Because you're a former triathlete.
I have done some triathlons.
Yeah. I mean, that alone is the joke. I'm sorry. I kid. I love you all. But there has been a pretty meme-worthy news development this week. There's going to be a gravel triathlon. And, it's so easy to make fun of that. It really is. I mean, it's shooting fish in a barrel. I made fun of it just like everybody else. But frankly, I support this. And
I do too.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that this is happening. And here's why. Any opportunity we can make to get people engaged with the cycling community or grow the cycling community, get people on bikes, is positive to me. And a gravel triathlon is really set up to draw people, new riders, into this community. Gravel tri is going to be a little bit mellower than any other type of off-road triathlon, so you can bring a hybrid bike, whatever you had in the garage, sort of collecting dust. To me, there's so much value in that. Whether you like triathlons or not, whether you think it's dorky or not, whatever your spirit of gravel argument is.
We know what yours is.
It doesn't matter. I know. I'm being a little hard on you.
It's okay.
It's just so easy.
I've done lots of things.
Yeah, it's real easy though. Anyway, but my point is this welcomes people to our world. Let's try not to make fun of them right when they show up.
Well, you know what's really happening. There's debate, the ongoing debate about aero bars and gravel events, particularly among the elite.
Yeah,
that's all this is. They've started. Ted King, Pete Stat, they started this to try and normalize the use of aero bars and gravel events.
Well, and so notably, this is one of the things that's different about gravel triathlon. So gravel is still trying to figure out its own rules, right? Like it's growing into its rule structure. Gravel tri actually has a rule structure already in place because it's basically triathlon rules. So one thing that they did add is you cannot use aero bars. So,
I love it.
So no gravel tri aero bars.
So you seem to know about these rules. Is this going to be draft legal?
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
Because I happen to believe that the phrase draft legal triathlon makes no sense because you should not be able to draft a triathlon. If you're drafting, it's something else.
Right.
It's a fine thing. I'm happy people go ride and do things. But.
Well, you can find all about it. And so my former colleague, Kelly O'Mara, she wrote an article for Velo News that outlines the whole thing.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's a great article. Go to Velo News, check it out. The details, the nitty-gritty, as well as a schedule of the gravel tri events are right there in the article. It's a nice piece from Kelly. So,
well, when I did triathlon, Stan, which the last one was,
do tell me about it.
Was some time ago.
Yeah.
Part of the thing I loved about it was the vibe of the events. There was a family element to it. We went to nice places. They weren't in parking lots off the beaten path like crits were. And it felt fun and it felt good. And sure, that eventually was ruined by the overindulgence of one of us.
Yeah.
But if gravel has that vibe, which it does now, and we can bring some more people into those events and grow those events from that level, because I like that idea a lot better than I like, let's let the UCI help us grow gravel, then I'm all for it.
I agree. And I think the overarching message here with Gravel Try and with what Michelle Arthurs Brennan went through is, don't let the trolls dictate what we are as a community. Don't let them dictate who belongs on a bike and who doesn't. This is our world. Yeah. We can define that. And so Gravel Try, if that's your thing, do it. I think that's great.
So we're signing up for one?
You're signing up for one, yeah.
Okay.
I'll heckle from the sidelines.
Well, if you let me do it by myself and I get to talk to people, I'll talk about you.
Well, this has been fun. Thank you to Mark. Thank you to Mark's Boots. And for those of you watching, please do follow us on Twitter @SlowGuyFastRide, on Instagram @SlowGuy, on the Fast Ride. Follow our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. Comment. Let us know what you think of what we're doing here. You can find all the great content we're doing, slowguyonthefastride.com. We do this every Friday. We hope you will join us next Friday.
And you write a fine newsletter that can be found there too.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can sign up for the newsletter right on slowguyonthefastride.com. That goes out every Tuesday. Occasionally I'll send it out on Thursdays to let you know when the podcast episodes are going out. I want to hear from you. Talk at me. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. I just want to hear from you guys.
Just want thumbs.
We just want thumbs. Mark, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. It was good to see you guys. See you next time.